up, everybody?
Welcome back to Mile Higher Podcast, episode 93. And today we are back in true crime mode, and we are going to be, it's been a long time.
It has been. It's been a really long time since we've done true crime.
6 weeks, right? Because we did like 5
Pretty
Halloween
much,
episodes on paranormal stuff for the most part. And then we did 2 conspiracies the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. So
RH Negative Blood and Antarctica, if you missed it. But now we are switching into true crime mode, and we are covering one of our most highly requested topics, which is the disappearance of the Springfield Three.
Yeah, truly baffling case. It's going to leave you with more questions than answers for sure.
Definitely. Really no answers.
Yeah.
None at all.
It's one of those you'll just get lost in and all the theories and what could have happened to them because, you know, it's not very often that 3 women disappear without a trace.
Yeah. I mean, most disappearances are just one person.
Yeah, right.
Or it's like maybe 2. I mean, there's a couple.
It could be like a couple or something, right?
A couple. But you really don't often see 3.
Yeah.
It's really, really weird. And they all went missing at once. It's not like this happened over a series of days or weeks or anything like that. They all went missing at one time.
Yeah, it's really wild.
It is very weird.
Get ready for that. But we'd like to thank our sponsors for today, Native, Snow, Quip, and Ritual.
Yes,
thank you for the continued support.
Helping us build our studio, which is almost done.
Yes, we're so close.
Yes.
I think we're a few weeks out. My goal is to get in at least an episode before the end of the year at this point.
Yeah, we hope so because it's been like a struggle. I mean, if you heard our last episode, it was rough in the intro. There's cords everywhere and we have animals living in our house and they're like walking over it and unplugging things and you know, it's not ideal for a studio. It's definitely not a studio. We're literally in an open area of our basement in front of a green screen on a card table. So
yeah, it'll be nice to get into a completely separate space that's solely dedicated to the podcast. Supposed to get our sign back. I miss our sign.
Yes, I miss our sign so much.
Yes,
well, we weren't planning on it taking so long. It wasn't supposed to ever be this huge, long thing. We originally thought it was going to be a couple weeks. So, you know, things happen.
Yeah.
But
that's how it goes, I guess.
Almost here. So look forward to that. Maybe before episode 100.
Yes. Crossing my fingers.
Yes.
But we also dropped new merch as well. So if you haven't checked that out yet, we relaunched our merch shop to milehigher.com.
Yes. The quality is so much better. The designs are way better. I love it.
Yeah, everything is much better quality. T-shirts are actually use recycled materials in it.
Yep.
Yeah, so much better quality. We've got some new stuff. We got sticker packs. We got
enamel pins.
Yeah, some new designs and stuff. So definitely check that out. It's good stuff. But let's go ahead and jump right into the stories this week because we've got some really interesting stuff happening. First story is scientists uncovered 143 huge ancient drawings in Nazca, Peru. Peru is one of those places that I want to go to so bad, just for this very reason that there's so much ancient history here.
It looks like a gorgeous country.
Oh my God. It looks amazing. Like Machu Picchu or, you know, the ancient city that was on top of a mountain, literally, like, and the ruins are still there. It looks
stunning.
Absolutely amazing there. I mean, the jungle's there, the Amazon's there.
Your grandma always tells us that was her favorite place she went.
She did. She always has such good
she's
stories
been
there.
all over the world. Egypt, Paris, everywhere. But she loves Peru. She always tells us you got to go to Peru.
She does. Peru. Which we do need to go to Peru because there's so much to find there. And like the Nazca geoglyphs are just one of them.
They are so interesting. Did we ever cover them on my channel? I can't remember.
No, I don't think we ever did. Or
I don't
you
think
ever
we
did.
ever did. No, we've never done a podcast on them either. We've really never covered them, which is so weird.
Yeah.
It's one of my like most favorite topics. It's so interesting.
I know. So if you don't know what these things are, basically there's these like drawings etched into the earth.
They're huge.
Extremely, large. I mean, they sprawl across huge areas of the desert, and you can only see the full thing from like high up in the sky. You can't see it on the ground, obviously, because it's so subtle and just.
Well, you could see it. You can probably walk through it. Well, I guess
sort of.
if they're on slopes, not really, but.
I mean, nowadays,
you could probably see it in the ground if you were standing right on it or above it.
Yeah.
But you can't really see the whole design unless you take an aerial approach.
Right. Yeah, and there's just all these different like representations of humans and animals and different types of objects and other types of beings, honestly. Like, it's really wild stuff.
They look similar to the drawings of the Australian Aboriginals. They're like very basic too.
Right.
But some just don't look like anything that.
But you're like, what is
recognize.
that? You can't. Exactly.
Some look like clear things. Like there's some that are just.
There's like a snake and things like that.
Animals. But some. And they're just massive. And it's like, why? put all the time into making.
Yeah, why'd they spend all this time etching into the ground when you can only see it from the sky?
It almost looked like they were laser made from the sky.
Wow, it's just like
that's a good thought. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Right?
Like a UFO is just like flying through and like lasering down a little design.
Yeah, it's
Maybe.
like it's kind of hard to think maybe like what guys walked around with giant sleds and like pushed the dirt and like flattened it, like what
thousands of years ago. I mean, we're talking as old as 2,500 years ago.
Yeah, and for them to still be around and you can see them is obviously good quality.
Yeah, well, think about how good they looked when they first were done.
Yeah, I'm sure.
If we can still see them 2,500 years later, they were probably really, maybe they were super easy to see just to somebody like, you know, I'm coming over the hill and you see these glyphs in the ground, but they're so big that it really looks like they were meant to be seen from the sky.
Right.
And that's what's the most interesting thing, because obviously, as far as we know, there was no type of flying objects.
It's not like they were flying their drone over it to check it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Why would this be a priority for them? You know, for an ancient civilization, why would they waste their time building something that you'd only be able to see from the sky?
Right.
There's so many other priorities for them, you know.
Yeah, and
figuring out basic things.
And they, you know, it makes sense to build pyramids even, or build like big monuments or things like that.
Because you can be like, oh, it was a mausoleum or whatever, but
why giant drawings on the ground?
There's no reason.
What's the purpose?
Maybe they were like trying to talk to their gods or something.
Maybe that's a good
like
point.
Communicate with them because they're in up. In the sky.
They were super spiritual. That's for sure. Most ancient cultures were.
Well, I mean, even with the Aboriginals, they talk about star people.
Yes, and dream time.
And so do these guys. I mean, there's even references in these ancient civilizations going back thousands of years of, like Janelle just said, the gods came from the sky. And I mean, that could be, you know, whatever you want to interpret gods to be. But clearly they were, you know, doing it for something in the heavens or in the sky to see. It's the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, clearly.
There's no other reason for it.
But why is this news now, Josh?
So the reason why it's news is because this Japanese university has been using IBM Watson AI technology.
Yes.
And what they've done is AI is going to figure so much shit out. That's what's so cool about it is some of these new discoveries are purely because AI is starting to look at shit that we missed. Like you give it a bunch of data and a bunch of 3D images, and a human can only look at it and gather so much, right? Right. But then you run it through IBM Watson, and Watson's like, oh yeah, boom, 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 boom. All of a sudden, he's connecting all these dots.
It's way smarter than us. It's so scary.
143. So we only knew of, I don't even know, like a handful of different types of geoglyphs out there, but there's 143. So they're just everywhere. They're all over the place out there. So they literally took the whole desert and like made it a canvas and just carved drawings into the ground for the gods or whatever, the aliens or whatever you want.
Unless they didn't do it. I mean, a lot of people believe they were made by aliens, like I said, or like lasered in. Or
ancient astronaut theorists believe that aliens came and carved drawings into the ground with their ships. It could have been. I mean, shit.
Well, I
Same
know.
ones doing crop circles could have been doing geoglyphs.
Dude, I know. The more we learn about aliens, the more the ancient astronaut theories make so much sense.
Totally.
I mean, they really do. It's crazy.
And so many people still love to just dismiss it as being like, oh, that's just kind of crazy. You know, aliens, come on.
I think it scares people. I mean, it's like pretty overwhelming to think about.
But it actually makes a lot of sense. So super interesting.
But they discovered 140 new ones?
143.
That's a lot.
That were unknown prior.
Wow. How long did it take him to find that many? Probably a long time, yeah?
No, not even that long.
A couple years?
Yeah.
Huh.
So they gave Watson all this 3D high resolution data, and it started scanning it and looking through it and started pinpointing all these drawings.
Well, there's one that's really interesting. It looks, I don't know what that is. It looks like an alien because it's definitely not a human. The legs are like coming out the side. It's like butts hanging down. There's a face. It's like there's two faces and then pigtails.
Maybe it's some type of like landing strip for UFOs
landing strip. That's a landing strip. It has arms, legs, and a face. What are you talking about?
Maybe that's like the sign of like land here. We're over here.
Yeah.
Like these. Hey, welcome.
with this weird butt creature. It looks like it has a shit in his pants, for real.
What? I'm not seeing it at all. I'm not seeing it.
Are we looking at the right picture? Are you even looking at the right picture?
I see it.
We're not.
Josh is looking at a different thing.
I was like, what?
See how its legs and then it's like its butt hangs below.
This is clearly some type of extraterrestrial being.
Yeah, it's not human.
It's like one of those little troll dolls.
Yeah, it looks like a voodoo doll, kind of.
Yeah.
It's very, I don't know, it's weird. Interesting how big that is, too. Like,
they found some wild shit out there in Peru, though, man. That's also where they found those Nazca bodies, too, the 3-fingered little dudes.
Oh, right. Yeah. Nazca, Peru is just unknown. Like filled with stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That's where they found, or Chile, I guess, was where they found the small body. What was that thing called?
Oh, the Atacama.
Atacama, yeah.
Yeah. In that whole region down there, though, there's a lot of UFO, seemingly extraterrestrial activity. It's very wild, man. It'll be interesting to see what AI starts to find, though. I think AI is going to find a ton of shit that we haven't, and but feeding it historical data and stuff, and just imagine.
Can AI go and like figure out what the hell's in Antarctica then?
Yeah, I mean, if you give it the data, you have to give it the data to process, though. Right. It's not just like can't like telepathically like remote view. I mean, maybe.
Hey Alexa, tell AI to go to Antarctica.
Do an expedition 2 miles under the ice in Antarctica and tell us that Atlantis is there. Yeah, no.
Interesting.
It'll be interesting to see though what it finds.
Yeah.
Next story I got is an update on the Epstein mystery. This just gets crazier and crazier. It feels like every week.
But I'm so glad that it's not being brushed over and just like it's actually really being dealt with. It's crazy. I didn't expect this, to be honest.
So this was the news that came out this week. The Bureau of Prisons director said at a judiciary committee hearing that the FBI is investigating the possibility of, quote unquote, a criminal enterprise in probe of Jeffrey Epstein's suicide. That is alarming. I mean, clearly they're starting to... They
think it's some organized thing.
This was an organized job because not only that, they also arrested the 2 federal correctional officers who were on duty the night he died.
Wow.
And charged them. They're facing like prison time now for this.
Well, that shows you right there. I mean, clearly something happened straight up.
Yeah. I mean, they really, there's some weird stuff going on here. So irritating.
My gosh. Imagine if he was able to go through that trial, all the things we probably would have found out.
Not only did those guys, the prison guards, fall asleep, but then they falsified the records to cover it up. That's why they're being charged. And that's what their FBI is saying.
They probably didn't fall
asleep. They literally covered this up.
Yeah.
So they're going to prison for it. And now, the evidence is really starting to weigh the other way that obviously he was taken out.
Murdered. Yep. Interesting.
So... I don't know, man. Hopefully now that the FBI is investigating this, though, that maybe they'll actually get the truth about what happened and we'll figure out something. I mean,
the FBI is like a little...
I mean, if they're willing to admit that he was taken out pretty much, then
it is impressive. It's different.
We should know why.
I didn't think that they would for sure, find anything. I thought this would definitely be closed up really quick and moved on.
Hopefully now, though, that the FBI is investigating this and clearly stating that there's a possibility of a criminal enterprise involved with this mysterious death, that maybe
will they just keep looking into it?
Yeah, I mean, they're actively doing an investigation. They're taking these 2 guys to, they indicted them and everything. Clearly, they're going to try to... I mean, I think now, the cat's out of the closet. Like, everybody knows about this, and we're demanding answers.
Cat's out the closet.
Have you seen all the... or cat's out of the bag. I don't think it's closets.
Either way, the cat's out of somewhere. Do you think they will try to figure out who actually did this, though? Or are they just going to, take these 2 guys down for their negligence here and then move on?
Hopefully not. I think that we are going to demand that they tell us, because I don't know if you've seen on social media and stuff, but people have been really,
really mad.
Epstein didn't do it. You see that everywhere. People are writing that all over the place. It's kind of gone viral now. So I think enough people know about this that they're not going to be able to just sweep this under the rug and move on.
I wonder if we'll find out who's responsible.
I think we will, because I think what you have to remember too, it's so easy to think that all government's bad, all law enforcement is bad. can't trust anybody. You can't trust the CIA. You can't trust the FBI.
You can't trust a lot of it.
You can't, but you also have to remember and believe that there's good people in positions in these agencies that actually want justice. You know, they're not, it's not like every single one of them are all in on this plan to cover up this. No. There's people that want to know the truth there as well.
Well, it's great to see this, that they're actually taking it seriously. And there's something, I truly did not expect this. I thought this would be,
I didn't think anything would happen to the prison guards. So the fact that they're already, you know, holding them accountable for this is good.
Yeah.
That maybe we'll get, you know, some more justice for all these victims of Epstein.
Yeah, and just for clarification, I saw a lot of comments last time that are like, why do you feel bad for Epstein getting murdered? Like, no, we don't. This isn't about,
it's not about that.
Making sure he gets justice for his murder. It's that tons of people, he has dirt on so many people that you're not getting justice for the victims that they have, you know? He's the connection to so many others. Right.
That's the problem is now that he's gone, obviously we will never know probably a ton of information.
No, definitely
that
not. A lot
he
died
only
with
knew.
him. Well, I mean, there's whoever did this, it was probably a risk to do it. And they knew. It must have been worth the risk.
Yeah.
He must know a lot or have a lot of stuff that he could have said. And they were nervous enough to do it.
Yeah. I mean, I think this story runs deep, and I think there's people I think we probably will never know the true person or motive behind this, but I think we'll get at least a little bit more than we have now as to, you know, who could have done it or why. So,
well, we'll keep you guys updated on it in the future.
Definitely.
Hopefully. I mean, assuming now more will come out.
Yep. So the next thing I've got is about the MORE Act, or the Marijuana Opportunity Reinvestment and Expungement Act, which was a huge, huge deal this week because the House Judiciary Committee passed this MORE Act by a vote of 24-10, which this clears the way for it to go to Congress. And literally, it's like the first step on the road to legalization federally here in the United States for cannabis.
We're going to see that soon. It's going to come fast.
Oh, yeah.
It's happening. I think it's going to happen really soon.
I always feel bad for people in other states and the other countries, too, that don't have access to legal products. Cannabis, and we're talking about, you know, that's why it's so great. We have dispensaries. We don't ever get toxic products. We don't get black market bullshit. We
don't have to worry about that.
We can go safely get our products.
Right. It's regulated.
But other people like need it and they can't get it.
Yeah. They're having to go off the black market. And that's the thing is I think enough politicians are starting to wake up and realize that like this is just ridiculous at this point.
Yeah, you're not going to just make marijuana go away. That's not going to happen at this point.
Well, it's doing more harm than good at this point to keep it outlawed. You know, it's doing way worse. I mean, the amount of people that are being locked up for these charges for cannabis and things like that is just insane. Especially those of color is really insane.
Just absurd, honestly.
It is.
The numbers are just shocking when you look at it.
It's honestly silly to be locked up for a plant. It really is.
It is. I mean, especially when there's so many other criminals out there running free. How many unsolved murders and shit that the police could spend their time on and not have to worry about this. Like,
that's the other thing is it's going to free up a ton of resources, which is good because so many, you know, you watch any sort of police television, you know, reality show on TV and so, you know, often it's arrests for cannabis. Right. And you just think you're like, great, you're not really doing anything that good, you know, in a sense, like.
I know, and you feel bad for the person because like maybe they're just, especially when they have a small amount and they get busted and it's like a huge big deal. It's like, there's trafficking, you know, that's one thing.
Right. And obviously unsafe, you know, things that are really illegal and things like that are not good. But just the basic concept of it is just wrong, in my opinion. You know, I think that this is going to change a lot of things for the criminal justice system for the better.
I do too.
Because I think it's going to free up resources. Cops are going to be focused on that. They're going to be focused on, you know, let's get the fentanyl, like the opioid crisis, all of these other things that we really need to get in under control. So
right. So I have a question. If they do end up legalizing nationwide, will they have to look at people who will have, you know, major sentences for? Okay.
That's part. So that's the expungement part. It's going to expunge people's records. Right. Tons of people are going to have their life back because this passes. A lot of people will be pardoned and let out of jail and stuff because it's legalized federally. Obviously, it's going to vary depending on your charges. Like if you're a trafficker or something, like, you know, you might get a lesser sentence, maybe. I don't know, but the people that are all in there for low level offenses or possession and things like that are going to be, you're going to be let out.
Oh, well, this is huge. I mean, that's just so exciting.
Not
Hopefully
only,
this goes through pretty fast when we see it.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing though is that the medicinal part of it, right?
Right. Totally.
This is like, I look at the cannabis plant as a medicinal plant, really.
Oh, I absolutely do.
It's
know
not
it
a party.
is.
It's not like this party plant,
No, a lot of people have the way wrong idea. Wrong idea.
Yeah. It's really a medicinal plant.
Yeah. And it could help so many people. Like, and you don't have to like get high to get the benefits of using it. You can microdose. It can help with anxiety. It can help with so many things. It helps my immune system. I mean, it's really an amazing miracle plant that should never have been illegal in the first place.
Right.
I mean, it's just totally absurd that it was ever made to be such a bad thing, a drug in the same category with all these other terrible, terrible drugs.
Right. Yeah. And
it's like so weird to me now.
It is. It's really bizarre, to be honest. And
it is.
Part of this passing too and federal legalization is that they're going to remove cannabis off of the Schedule 1 narcotics, which is huge. Like you're telling me that cannabis is equal to heroin. Like
that's just not true.
Anybody that has done either would 100% be like, absolutely not. It's insane that the both are two in the same category.
They're not even the same world. It's like totally weird that they're in the same group.
And it's clearly because of the war on drugs and all of that they did that. But now it's like, it doesn't make sense. It's doing more harm than good. Let's free the weed, let's allow people to make that decision on their own. If we can go buy tobacco and alcohol, come on.
And the states that have legalized it have had fantastic results from it. It's been great for Colorado. Our economy has boomed since. Seriously, it like put us on the map, legit. Everyone's coming here now.
Tourism.
It's kind of annoying, honestly.
Yeah, it really is.
I want the rest of the country to legalize it so people don't want to come here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, other states that have legalized it too. It's like not like people have bad reactions. Everyone's high and everyone's crashing into each other on the streets and like everyone's.
I mean, I think that like obviously some people have bad reactions. Like it's not for everyone.
No, it's not. Of course not.
But like it's not like it makes you all of a sudden out of your mind and you don't even know what reality you're in whatsoever.
Not at all.
And I think that also,
especially if you do it in the right way.
Yeah.
If you do too much and you're like a first time user, you can have a bad reaction. But that's with
any substance, period. You just need to use it responsibly. Right. And I mean,
some people have bad reactions to caffeine.
Yeah. I used to drink like 32-ounce monsters and be shaking at the Geek Squad counter.
That's a lot more dangerous than.
I'm like, hey, can I check the computer?
Josh, like I just be tweaking. So addicted to
I'm still addicted to caffeine 100%. But it used to be really bad. I'd just be like down in energy drinks all day because capitalism, they want to keep you going. You got to give you that fuel.
Well, you were working like a 6 a.m. shift and had to drive an hour to work. You were waking up at like 4 and then staying up and late with me partying in college till midnight and still going.
And I'm sure all that caffeine hasn't been good for my health and stuff. I know it's not good for my health.
Yeah.
So
and it's just legal, but then weed isn't.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also, if you legalize it nationwide on a federal level, you'll be able to get a lot more resources for research to do research. You can get more funding.
Yep.
You can get more funding for research so we can really see, does this plant, could it cure cancer?
Major things.
Like, could it, what can this plant really do? And it's hard to tell when it's, not researched a lot because it's illegal.
Right. It's going to get us better quality products. The more that there is, the higher the demand, the better.
Totally. Innovation is happening every day with it already.
It is.
It's still illegal in most places. Like some of you that live places where, medical marijuana is not even a thing. It's never going to pass, somewhere down south probably. And, if you were to walk into a dispensary, you'd be like, holy shit, where am I? This is like crazy. Like even I get blown away when I walk into a new dispensary that's got all these new products. I'm like, what? This, that, this,
I'm sure some people picture it like a dingy, scary situation.
That's the thing is like,
it's a drug house.
A lot of them look like Apple stores. They're bright and
modern.
Yeah, they're modern and open.
People are there and knowledgeable.
Fountains.
They have tons of like flat screens with all the menus. People are very professional. It's a very professional field.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not sketchy
it's
or
not
weird
sketchy
at all.
whatsoever. I honestly think a lot less sketchy than like liquor stores. Like there are some sketchy liquor stores.
Oh yeah.
Like
no, the dispensaries have to be of a certain quality because they have such scrutiny on them too right now.
Right.
The industry is so new that like and there's so
very
much
secure
competition here in Colorado between dispensaries. There's so many of them. It's crazy. Like they're everywhere. Even the smallest mountain town in Colorado probably has a dispensary.
Yeah.
It's wild.
It does. It's true. Small towns have them now.
Yeah.
Well, I think what people also always fail to realize, especially people who are not really familiar with this industry, is that a lot of people aren't actually smoking or vaping this stuff. Like a ton of people go edible route, which is really popular and starting to get topicals.
Topicals are huge for me.
They even have a
bath bombs,
inhaler now.
Yep.
Yeah.
An inhaler that just gives you a nice little shot of THC and you're on your way.
There's something for everyone. I truly believe everyone could benefit from it, even if it was microdosing.
Right.
I think people make the mistake of like smoking way too much. And then it's like, oh my God, I just react bad to it. It's like, no, you just overdosed pretty much. Yeah. You need to roll it back. Like start with a tiny, tiny amount.
Yeah. See how your body reacts to it.
It should not give you anxiety. It should take the edge off, allow you to relax.
Totally. And it's also like, there's so much more to it than that. Like there's strains and indica to hybrid to sativa. They all have different effects. Like this is some scientific shit. Like,
and we're Coloradans, so we're so used to talking about this with so many people.
Yeah.
I know this seems like a foreign topic to so many people, and they're like, "Why are you even talking about this?"
Yeah, I always wonder how relatable it is, or if people are like, "Yes, we already know all this," or if there are people who are like, "Wow, I guess there are tons of people who have never experienced this, and it's trippy for me to think about."
Mm-hmm.
No, and they don't exactly. I mean, when we first got introduced to it, when we became legal here, it was a whole new world. Learning the difference between THC and CBD. It's such a complex, really amazing, beautiful plant.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a miracle
it's not
plant.
just a drug. Like we don't talk about it because it's just a drug. We want to all get
we
high
just want y'all
in
to get
America.
high with us.
No, it's a really important thing.
Yeah.
And we talk about it on our channel because the fact that it's been illegal is truly a conspiracy. And it's an effort to keep people from opening their minds, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can also make it yourself, and you don't have to rely on the pharmaceutical industry. So, that's a big...
Hemp is a huge renewable resource that they don't want us to have. I mean, all that stuff was illegal for no reason.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, too. Right around the 1930s, just boom.
Yeah, a bunch of people in these industries, competing industries, were like, nope, we don't want that because that does too much good. Yeah. Shut it down.
And it's important because a lot of people could really benefit from it and they don't have access to it, or they get now, people are getting stuff on the black market like we've been talking about, and it has who knows what the fuck in there other than vitamin E acetate. Like could be more than that, Yeah,
well, even the flour could be synthetic. You got to worry about, synthetic flour. You got to worry about it being laced with something. Like
it's honestly
it's a
for
lot
safety.
Sketchier. Totally. And now it's just it's so safe. It's just like going to the pharmacy to pick up your medicine from your doctor, basically, at this point.
Is.
Yeah, so many dispensaries have like names of like pharmacy or like like the health clinic or something.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's very health based. But that's how it should be. I completely see it as a medicine. I use it as a medicine. I have an autoimmune disease. I have fibromyalgia. For me, it's a fucking medicine, hands down. It works 30% better than aspirin. That's proven. Mm-hmm. It's my medicine. Like I feel way more pain without it,
Yeah.
And at this point, I have such a high tolerance because I use it. It doesn't I don't have the psychoactive effects that you normally have when you first start using, or if you're an occasional user, that stuff goes away. But, I feel like it's something that we should have the right to have.
Totally.
Period.
And I mean, at least right now, everybody has access to CBD, which is good. CBD has become widely popular.
Yes, it's great to see. It
blown
up
really well.
It
really does for all types of different things. So we actually have a really good sale happening with hemp bombs we wanted to quickly just tell you about. From November 29th to December 3rd, we are offering you guys 33% off for this Black Friday, like Cyber Monday sale. This is probably the best sale of the year. So
hop on it, guys.
Now's the time to stock up, and you can use code MILE33, and that will get you that 33% off. So stock up. That's a good deal.
Guys, they have everything, and it can be used on multiple websites. Yes. We'll list it below if you need pet products.
Topicals, tinctures. Yes. I mean,
anything you can think of, they have it all.
Pain-free stuff. Yeah. They got
and we love it. We love the brand. I have some right here. I have multiple products right here in my anxiety travel bag.
Yep.
I love that thing.
I love it.
You always have the best, everything you could possibly need to feel good right there.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
I highly recommend making an anxiety bag. Anyway.
Yeah. Sorry. Check it out. hempbombs.com. Use code MILE33. Everyone wants their home to look and feel great. Luckily, Snow makes it incredibly simple. They create trend-proof, beautiful, functional pieces made for how you live. Snow makes luxury essentials for every room in your home, minus the markup. They partner directly with master craftsmen to create beautiful, simple products that are made to last, like their incredibly soft, award-winning sheets and fluffy duvets, or luxurious air-spun cotton towels and robes. The sheets are truly incredible. We got some of these snow linen sheets, and they completely changed my sleeping experience. Kendall loves them too. You can't go wrong with some snow sheets. Not only that, they also have super durable, dishwasher-safe porcelain dinnerware and wine glasses with titanium enforced stems. Snow has received rave reviews from Vogue, Fast Company, Apartment Therapy, and more, and it's the home collection of your dreams, priced for your reality. And right now, Snow is offering our listeners $30 off your first purchase of $150 or more when you go to snowhome.com/milehigher. That's SNOWE home.com/milehigher to get $30 off your first order. Again, visit snowhome.com/milehigher for your special offer.
So when it comes to my beauty routine, I really enjoy using natural products as much as I can. And one thing that I've realized is natural deodorant is very important. Your underarms are very sensitive and they're filled with pores. So it helps to use a natural deodorant. And that's why I love Native deodorant. It's formulated without aluminum, parabens, or talc. And it's filled with ingredients that are found in nature, such as coconut oil, shea butter, which is a moisturizer and an emollient, and tapioca starch that absorbs wetness. It's never tested on animals, which we love, and they have free shipping and returns. And it really works. You know, switching to an aluminum-free deodorant sounds like a challenge, and it can be kind of hard at first because your body does have to adjust to it. You have to use it, you know, day and night actually helps a lot, especially if you start using it at night. That's actually the best time to apply deodorant. And if you stick with it, it works just as well. And they have really good scents. Like you'll actually want to smell them. You know, when you smell some deodorants, they just have a kind of chemical smell. When you smell Native, it smells like coconut oil mixed with essential oils. They have coconut and vanilla, lavender and rose, cucumber and mint, and eucalyptus and mint. There's no risk to try. They offer free returns and exchanges in the United States. So check out Native Deodorant today. And for 20% off your purchase, you can visit nativedeodorant.com and use the promo code MileHigher20 during checkout. That's nativedeodorant.com and use promo code MileHigher20 at checkout. All right. So let's get into the disappearance of the Springfield Three. Now, first of all, this case is a little bit confusing because all of the women that we're going to be talking about today have names that start with S.
Yes.
And it takes place in Springfield.
Right.
So it's just SSSSS.
Springfield, Missouri.
Yes. I guess, yeah, there's multiple Springfields.
Yeah,
there's a lot in our country, actually.
It's one of those names of a city that's kind of common or a town. Yeah. Springfield, Illinois, I think is another one.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the Springfield Three revolves around the unsolved disappearances of 47-year-old single mother and cosmetologist Sherrill Levitt, her 19-year-old daughter Suzie Streeter, and 18-year-old childhood friend Stacy McCall. So a little backstory on them. During a period of Sherrill's life, she and Suzie relocated into a smaller home on the East Delmar Street in Springfield, Missouri. And Sherrill was a single mother working as a cosmetologist. She loved her profession at the local hair salon, so much so that her daughter had ambitions to become a stylist herself in the future.
They were really close.
Clearly close.
Mom and daughter, yes.
Beautiful women too.
Yeah,
all
really
three.
Pretty.
Very pretty. Very
blonde
pretty.
hair. Yeah.
Well,
really pretty smiles.
Yeah, definitely pretty smiles. Stacy, actually, the one in the middle here, she was trying to get into modeling.
Mm-hmm.
She was doing some local stuff in her area too, like commercials. She was trying to, I don't know if she ever made it to full commercials, but I saw that she at least did auditions for commercials. And she was, she definitely wanted to get into that.
Yeah, possibly. And bottom line, they had such bright futures. You know, they had so much ahead of them and so much to accomplish. I mean, this was the time of the disappearances right around the time they graduated from high school, actually. Kickapoo. I couldn't believe that name at first. I was like, Kickapoo.
I'm sorry. I'm way too immature to
where'd you graduate?
That.
Literally.
Yeah, I went to Kickapoo.
Kickapoo High School.
Kickapoo.
That's great.
It's literally spelled kick a
It's honestly iconic.
So good. That almost sounds like a dog.
It was probably someone's last name or something. Yeah, Mr. Kickapoo.
Stop.
Sounds like it. God. Kickapoo High School. So that's where Suzie and Stacy graduated from on June 6, 1992. And they had plans for the future. They were going to enroll in college, but they wanted to live it up. You know, like after that summer, after graduation, you don't want to immediately like think about going into school and college and stuff. You want to like kind of live it up and just chill. And
totally
after getting through that final semester of senior year, you're like, all right, it's time to just kind of let loose a little bit. And have
we
a
had
good
a
time.
ton of fun our senior year summer.
Don't remember a lot of it.
Yeah,
I really don't remember a lot of it. I think mostly because it's just been so long and I'm so old now that I'm just like, I can't remember my high school.
No, but we definitely had a ton of fun before we went for college. That like 3 months was really fun. We did a ton of, we were like hanging out with tons of people and just like doing, you're just, living it up, celebrating that you just made it through that grueling, 12 years of school you have to do?
Yeah.
What is it, 12?
Yep.
It's a long time. Before you start the next set of years, it's like kind of nice to relax in that time. They were definitely like hanging out, doing a lot of partying.
Yeah, and the weather's nice. Like, who doesn't want to go outside in the summer and like be out and about and just chilling? So that's exactly what they were doing. And later that evening after the ceremony, Suzie, Stacy, and a mutual friend, Janelle Kirby, were planning on traveling 30 minutes away to Branson, Missouri. And their plan was to like stay overnight at a hotel and then go to the Whitewater amusement park the next day. It's kind of like, here in Colorado, we have Water World. It's like a water park attraction place.
I love that place, honestly.
It's so fun.
I love it.
Yeah, I do love those places.
I want to go back there. I feel like it's been like 10 years since I've been to Water World.
I just feel so old now. I'm like, God, who wants to see my old ass walking around?
I know. This is why we need kids. So we can go again.
Seriously, though, that's partly why I'm looking forward to having kids. So yeah, they're going to go have a nice day at the water park. It's hot, especially in Branson, Missouri in the summer.
Yeah.
Definitely the place you want to be. But for some reason, they all decided to ignore the idea of spending the night at the hotel, and instead they decided to spend the evening at Janelle's house. And when they got there, they found her house to be crowded because of the number of relatives who had come over from all over the state in order to celebrate her graduation. So she was having like a big family graduation party. They go over there and, probably not expecting that to be happening.
So many people, yeah.
And they're like, oh, there's actually stuff happening here. So they ended up leaving later on that night around 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Suzie and Stacy left and went back to Sherrill's house. And they basically told Janelle that they would call her in the morning, we'll go through with our plans. So as far as what we know, the last reported sighting of Suzie and Stacy was on Battlefield Road at 2:30 in the morning. Mm-hmm. And even though it was super late, many of the roads throughout town were still busy because it was graduation and the weekend at the same time. So there's a lot of stuff happening. People are out, at parties and whatnot. So, but that was the last point at which they were seen. And also, as far as what we know, they made it to Sherrill's house without incident. There was no, issue getting there. So earlier that night, actually, Sherrill was last heard from between 11 and 11:30 p.m. when she was talking to a friend on the phone and working on a project. And throughout this 3-hour period, nothing seemed abnormal. Yet what followed literally has baffled police and investigators for over 25 years. So this is the last moments that all three of them, like what we know of their whereabouts and what they were doing. That's like all we have information wise. After this, no clue.
No.
So literally the next morning, Janelle calls Sherrill's home to confirm the plans with her friends for the day. Like, hey guys, like, gonna go to the water park. And she calls several times and then ends up leaving a message on the answering machine. Now remember, this is 1992. There ain't no cell phones. This is like calling the landline, the old fashioned little, answering machine. So that's what she did. She left a message. And at first she wasn't worried because she thought the girls were maybe asleep.
Right.
And
long night.
Yeah.
They're up late.
Exactly. So maybe they just kind of forgot. So her and her boyfriend ended up deciding to drive to Sherrill's house in Springfield to see why they weren't answering their calls. Cause she was like, why aren't you answering? This is kind of weird. Like she's starting to get those weird vibes of like, why can't I hear back from them? And so they decided to go there and they arrived at Sherrill's house around 8 to 9 a.m. And that's the thing is I've seen there's slightly different times on the timeline. Like nobody has like the official time, I don't think.
No.
So it's between 8 and 9 a.m. And when they arrived at the house, everything seemed pretty normal. There was nothing out of the ordinary.
Nope.
Because in the driveway, all 3 cars were there for Suzie, Stacy, and Sherrill.
Everything seemed pretty normal.
It was in front of the house, yeah.
Pretty much everything.
So, obviously if you're just showing up, you're like, oh, okay, they're all here.
Yeah.
Their cars are here. They wouldn't leave without their cars. So
yeah, I mean, they were pretty much expecting to open the doors and see them like sleeping. Like maybe they slept
through the alarm.
Maybe they
or something.
Maybe they stayed up even later than 2 or whatever when they left the party. Who knows? They could be sleeping all day. I mean, I've had days like that.
Yeah.
Especially after parties.
Yeah, I mean, 2:30 is pretty late to be up and getting settled in. It was probably like 3-ish in the morning that they were probably finally going to sleep. So they could have definitely slept in if that's what had happened.
Right. But when they first approached the front steps, they noticed that there was a porch light that was broken, and not the actual bulb. It was just the casing around it had fallen down and smashed.
Yeah.
Which says to me almost, I was thinking a door slam could have knocked just the casing around down. Because if it was like smashed, like if someone beat it with their hand or an object or something, you'd probably smash the light bulb too. It almost seemed like the thing came loose by the door shutting really hard.
Like slamming against the wall of the house.
And it could have shaken it to the point where the thing came loose and came off. Because it's interesting that the bulb wasn't smashed.
Right. And it was on still.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's not like someone was trying to take the light out.
No.
To make it dark.
Right.
Because they would have smashed the light bulb as well.
It seems accidental. In whichever fashion that it happened, it seems like it was accidental that happened.
My best guess is a hard door slam.
That would make a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. A lot of those porch lights are attached to that wall, same wall as the door. So you slam that hard
loose.
enough.
They get loose over time.
Yeah, totally. That's that's a really good point for sure. So not only did they see that, the other thing I was going to add with that is that her boyfriend, not really thinking too much about it, swept up the broken glass.
Yes. And I mean, his thinking is like, he doesn't want any of them. There's girls here.
Totally,
He doesn't want them to step on glass.
Right. Like, oh no, this happened. The wind, didn't really think too much of it.
And there was not much they definitely weren't thinking this was a crime scene. This was totally them coming over just to make sure they made it home safe. That they didn't get in a drunk driving accident or something didn't happen.
Yeah, it was just being helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. They were just going over there and he didn't want to step on it because it's right in the doorway. It makes total sense to clean that up.
I think anybody would.
But looking back, it's kind of, you definitely are like, oh, dude, you shouldn't have done that. Right. There's a lot of things like that that shouldn't have been done in this case.
Well, that's the thing is they step inside, and that's when they completely get overtaken by confusion because they start to realize that everything is not as what it seems, Well,
and it took them a little while too. Mm-hmm. Like when they first went into the house, they didn't really notice anything too much.
No. The one thing that was kind of odd, but they didn't really think too much of it, was the TV was on, right?
Right.
And it was just like snow. It was just that static screen. It was like...
Which is so creepy.
Yeah, of course. That's like some horror movie stuff. Like,
it's horrible.
Walk into a quiet house and the only thing only sound is coming from a static TV.
And what was interesting is the beds looked like they had been slept in. Mm-hmm. So, which we don't know if they were unmade from the night before. Like, how many people actually make their bed every single day? Like, come on.
Right.
I definitely don't. So you would probably never know when my bed had been slept in or not.
Yeah.
But
that's so true.
It would have been more suspicious if it was perfectly made or something.
Right.
I feel like.
Or something could have happened in the beds, which is concerning.
Definitely. Well, yeah.
But you'd think there'd be more evidence left behind if things actually happened there. I don't think a crime actually happened there other than maybe abduction.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. And I mean, the only other thing that they found was their purses.
Yeah. Which were left.
Mm-hmm, left behind with their jewelry and cigarettes.
And cigarettes, especially back then, I think her mom,
Sherrill was a chain
smoker. You don't just leave. That's the one thing you take.
Well, if you're going to leave, you bring your purse.
Yes. Well, definitely the purse. But the cigarettes is even weirder because you need them. A lot of people who have addictions to tobacco take them everywhere, especially back then. Mm-hmm. So I think that's super strange that she left that.
Yeah. And there was a undeposited check in Sherrill's purse too. Mm-hmm. So why wouldn't she have taken that with her? It became kind of apparent to them that this is really weird.
Yeah.
Why did they leave? Why aren't they here? Because they're not in their rooms. It's completely there's nobody in the house.
If they like went out and got breakfast, they'd take their purses. So they definitely started getting weird vibes when they noticed how much of their personal belongings were there.
But I mean, otherwise it seems like the house was pretty normal as far as what it looked like. I mean, there was washcloths with makeup. Like it looked like they had just been there, or you know, they were there the night before. Like everything was normal in the house. There was not like signs of forced entry or, you know, any like ransacking in the house or anything like that. As far as we know,
no blood,
right?
Nothing like that.
It wasn't apparent that this could have been a crime scene. They had no idea.
And you'd think if someone took 3 women, they would have tried to fight back to the point where they would have knocked something down, or there'd be some type of struggle evident. And that's why this case is so just weird.
Is because the scene is so normal scene. Yeah. And weird, like eerie, that it's like they were just there, but they're not there.
Yeah. But it seemed like they did come back that night.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, the other thing that's really was kind of alarming to them was that their dog was there. Right. They had like a little Yorkie terrier named Cinnamon. And while they were like going through the house, you know, calling Stacy, you know, calling their names and stuff, the dog
Sherrill,
came out. And apparently the dog was acting super frantic and like aggravated, like just completely. And you know how dogs
stressed.
Yeah. Like stressed out. Not just like I'm barking because you guys are here.
If we just got abducted,
house.
Bernie would be freaking out. They would.
Dogs know.
Dogs
know.
Definitely know.
They know when their owner's in distress.
Some type of something happened there.
That's a major hint, I feel like, and that's what you know, Janelle thought, because she picked up the dog and she's like, oh my God, this dog is like out of control.
Yeah.
She's telling her boyfriend Mike, like, hey, you know, I don't know, this is starting to look really weird, but maybe did they just leave for the water park without us? But then that doesn't make any sense because all their cars are in the driveway. Like, would they get on the bus and go? Like,
they were
leave their
to the water
purse?
Park.
How are they going to pay to get in the water park?
Yeah, no, it didn't make any sense. They were super confused.
So this is when, literally like straight out of a horror film, the phone rings.
So scary.
The landline phone starts ringing. Janelle's like, oh my God, maybe it's them calling to be like, hey, you know.
Right.
Which that doesn't really make a lot of sense either, because like, why would they just call their own house?
Yeah, they don't know that she's there.
So she answers it hoping that it's like somebody with news on where they are. And instead she hears literally one of the most disgusting, disturbing things she's ever heard. And we don't even know the details of what
they never
the voice on the phone said, but
it was supposed to be sexual though, and like
it was a male voice, so you can only imagine a creepy male voice saying extremely graphic and lewd sexual comments.
Disgusting things.
Probably, which that's just so, I mean, as a woman, especially like a young woman like that, in this type of situation, I can only imagine how creepy and freaked out that would make you feel.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine.
And you think like if someone purposely called because they knew that she was there, that means someone was still watching the house?
That's what I was about to ask. How did he know to call on time? Like, or did he just, maybe he was calling a bunch of times?
Yeah, I mean, he could have, but like, it almost seems like someone was watching.
It does, because she answers the first time. She's like, oh, this is weird, creepy, gotta be a prank or something, hangs up. And then literally like shortly later calls back again. Yeah, so either they were calling repeatedly.
And the police, I mean, have totally dismissed this. They have said that this was a prank call.
Which, come on, what are the chances?
It's hard because like there's not really as many prank calls now, but back then people were prank calling all the time because there was no caller ID.
That was like the only thing to do.
Like people would harass people and call and say like lewd things and like that. But like at the same time,
first thing
what
in
are
the morning?
The chances? It's too convenient that they called right after the 3 of them disappeared.
Think about this.
Like I feel like that is such bullshit. The police just did not take that call seriously at all. It was never considered to be. They believe that it was completely something unrelated to the case, and to this day that's what they say.
I don't know if I would just write that off as that, because this is like fucking 10 a.m. in the morning. What kind of prank caller's calling?
It's like, all right, just woke up trying to get started on my prank call.
Yeah, who's doing that? Come on.
Yeah, and especially that they said such creepy things. It'd be different if someone called and like it was an actual clear prank, like is your refrigerator running? But no, it was someone trying to be scary and creepy.
Clearly a male that knew there was females there, because come on. If Mike, the boyfriend, answers, is he going to say all that shit to Mike?
Right. Well, who knows?
Probably not. I'm just saying, speculatively, probably not. I mean, clearly they are targeting this house.
Someone must have been watching that house, or maybe there was like I don't even know. It has to be that someone was watching it, because it seems, and we'll get more into this, but like, it seems like the other women were being watched, at least Stacy, if not, everyone else as well.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like maybe someone was watching them to have known when they were going to be home. And this was clearly planned.
Right.
You don't just take 3 people on a whim. You don't just like follow some in like from a party and then take 3 women.
No.
This is a planned,
clearly,
clear,
well
operation.
Operation for sure.
So someone was probably watching that house.
It seems likely, honestly.
And they probably learned that house. If they left no evidence and stuff and like it was so clean cut, they probably knew the inside of that house somehow. Maybe they'd been in there for all we fucking know.
Seriously.
But enough to be there or be ready to call when someone comes over looking for them.
It's very creepy.
I mean, they still had someone watching after they took them? It's so creepy. This case is so weird.
It's like I feel like it's every woman's worst nightmare.
I'm literally I'm starting to shake.
Yeah, I hate it.
It gives me so much anxiety thinking about this. Like, seriously, no idea.
Yeah, no, it's really creepy though. So Janelle, after he calls again, Janelle cuts him off, hangs up on him, and then they leave the house. They're like, we're getting out of here.
Yeah, dude, I'd be like, fuck this.
Yeah.
That is so scary.
It is. It's terrifying. It really is terrifying. So Stacy's mother, actually, Janice, and her oldest daughter, Lisa, were under the impression that Stacy was at Janelle's house still. They had no idea that she even had gone to Sherrill's house. So they had no clue.
Okay.
But a relative relayed the information that Suzie and Stacy left for Sherrill's house. This obviously made her mom upset because she didn't know where she was.
Right.
But she just let it slide because, she trusts her daughter and
well,
stuff. Well,
maybe Stacy was planning to call and let her know. I mean, it's the middle of the night. You're going to call and wake up your parents and tell them where you ended up sleeping.
Yeah, and she could have been like, she was partying,
call
maybe
early
she
in the
slept
morning
in or something. Right, exactly. She didn't worry about it too much because, it wasn't anything to be worried about. She needed to get to a
safe space. They were originally planning on staying at the house that the party was at, right? There was just so many people.
Yeah.
They couldn't. Right. So this was last minute and, it was harder to communicate back then. It's not like she could have texted her mom.
Oh, I know. I can't even imagine a world where you have to call a landline to get a hold of anybody. Like,
I know.
Hey,
honestly, it's
you
really
remember
hard
those days though? You'd call a landline and be like, somebody else would answer, be like, yeah, is Billy around?
Especially as a kid, like someone's brother would answer. You'd be like, hi, can so-and-so talk? I would like to play with them.
Yeah.
I was wondering if they could come out and play.
Yeah. It's so funny because like, now you see kids on their iPhones and they're probably all like messaging each other and it's all like totally virtual different. And, non-contact.
It was a brief time.
Back in our day, we used to have to ask the parent to talk to their kid.
Yep. Yeah. That's weird. Yeah, but I mean, and that's why so many of these cases, these older ones seem to be the ones with the most unsolved, just confusing, no answers because there's no traceable stuff. Now people are communicating all the time and you can form a timeline better based on little text going back and forth.
Oh, yeah.
Like you're communicating with people all the time, especially when you're out and about. Like now most people share locations. We have locations on each other and people.
Yeah, we can track all of us all at the same time.
It's just changed a lot. Like I don't think a crime like this may have been able to be committed nowadays. 3 women without a trace like this.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's definitely a lot harder.
And this long going.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
this
now
many years.
So much of our daily activities online.
Yeah.
That it's really
social media.
We're able to know faster when somebody goes missing because most of us are online and actively posting and things like that. So when all of a sudden somebody goes quiet for a little, more than they typically do, something's up right away.
Well, when people go missing, a lot of times you can figure out what may have happened to them by their actions on social media or messages, text messages before, then the days leading up to it. You can start kind of painting a picture of what was going on in their life.
Yeah.
But people didn't have that
No,
same
you
trace.
had none of that. It was all word of mouth.
Yeah. It's kind of like, it reminds me, I just recently covered Mason Smith on my channel and it was kind of hard for police to figure out what was really going on in his life because he didn't use social media. He just did not.
Well, also he deleted his history in his computer.
Well, he cleared that too.
There's probably a lot of information though that could help. But as far as
social, because that stuff you can delete it, but it's always there.
No, but the police couldn't find it. You can delete it permanently if you know how. But he
didn't delete his social media stuff. He
only
deleted his
social
YouTube
media
history.
Yeah, just the search history is what I'm saying.
But Twitter and stuff, the Wayback Machine, you can see anything, whether you delete it or not.
And it's all archived on Twitter servers. It doesn't matter if you delete it or not.
Right, but he didn't even like use it. So it was a super weird thing. Because like what teenager doesn't use social media? You know, it's like it's a huge tool when it comes to missing people, figuring out what they were doing before.
Definitely.
A lot of cases have been solved that way.
No, they really have. So Janice and Lisa actually headed into town to pick up Lisa's wedding dress at the bridal store. And at this point, it had almost been a full day since Janice had heard from her daughter, Stacy. And due to Sherrill and Suzie moving to another house, Janice wasn't aware of their new address and phone number. That's the other thing too, is you remember you have to like give when you go to someone else's house, you got to give your parents like the address and phone number and stuff.
Yeah,
like
and people kept address books.
Yeah, totally. You had to keep a contact list. And like, you know, I need to know whose number, tell me what their number is, their address.
Such a weird memory now. My mom flipping out her address book.
Yeah.
Like going through to the different letters of people. It's like such a different world. And it hasn't even been that long.
Yeah, it's really not that long. Just goes to show how much technology is just changing rapidly.
And where we're going to be 10, 20 years from now, it's going to be a different world again.
We're going to never be disconnected. I feel like we're going to be like connected through this neural network that
my God.
Elon Musk is building. Like our brains are going to all be connected. We're going to be like telepathically communicating. There'll be no verbal speech. It'll be all just
that would be crazy.
Looking at each other.
I hate thinking about that because I don't want to live in a world that's like that.
It's weird.
There's a balance.
Absolutely.
We're going to cross it. It's going to be really bad.
Yeah, it is.
You almost need to go backwards in time. You got to slow it down a little bit.
I know. I'm ready to get my razor back.
The razor is back. Did you see it?
What?
Yeah,
the razor is back.
The razor is back. Breaking news. Dude, we interrupt this.
My gosh.
It is. They made another razor, so it's like a normal. It's like an iPhone, except it bends down in half. The screen bends in half,
razor,
and it looks like a razor. Yeah.
Watch like flip phones come back. It'll be like cool again to have a flip phone.
Oh my gosh.
Honestly, I would not be that pissed about that. I'd be just kind of happy.
It kind of protects it and stuff.
Yeah, because like everybody's tired of their screens breaking. Like that was the nice thing about it.
And it's kind of private that it's shut. Because like if you leave
there's a screen
your phone
on front
open,
too.
Yeah.
It has two screens. It folds and then there's a screen like right here.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Dude, cool. I gotta get myself the new razor. I loved my razor. I had the pink razor.
Yeah. Well, Janice didn't have a razor. She had to go searching through the phone book to try to find Sherrill's address and phone number, and eventually she was able to track it down. And so she decided to go over to Sherrill's house and pay them a visit because she was like, I haven't heard from my daughter. Let's go see what's up. So she actually arrived at Sherrill's house when the sun began to set on June 7th, and she found that the door to the house was unlocked. So she entered. Nothing would be, creepier or more alarming than showing up at this woman's house that you are expecting to find your daughter in, and the door's just like wide open when you roll up.
It's got to be such a scary feeling.
Like, what the hell? I mean, I'm sure you're immediately thinking like
the worst.
Something happened. So once she stepped inside, she found the same eerie scene that Janelle witnessed earlier that day. The TV, Janelle didn't even turn the TV out. She kept it. The TV in the bedroom was still turned on, tuned to static, and all the personal items were still left behind.
Well, that's good.
Right, which is good.
Maybe at that point she started feeling like this could be a crime scene, and she left it all.
I think she was sketched out enough that she just wasn't going to stick around there right.
She probably got the fuck out of there after that second call.
Seriously. So while walking around the house, Janice noticed that her daughter's bathing suit, car keys, makeup kit, plus a change of clothes were arranged neatly in a pile.
She was packing them up for the water park.
Right.
So that almost makes you think they went home, went to sleep, or packed up for the morning.
Something happened that morning, early that morning. Because we don't know from about 2:33 at night till 8, 9 a.m. when Janelle shows up.
Yeah.
What happened? We have no clue.
And it's like you would think since they went to a party that night, I instantly go to maybe they were stalked by someone at the party and followed home and it all happened quick. But this is all showing that maybe they really did go home and had some time there, whether or not they went to sleep and fully stayed there all night. But what kind of abduction happens? That makes that even weirder if it happened in the morning, unless it was still dark out and everyone's asleep pretty early, 4 or so. It's kind of the best time to do it.
Honestly, I was going to say it's probably the least amount of people out there on the road, on the roads.
And unless it was daytime though, unless it was morning. Because you'd think
4 a.m. It's pitch black though.
No, I know, but unless it was, we don't know. What time it was.
True. Yeah, it could have been when the sun was coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like you think someone would see that. But then there's people getting up early for work. But what was it? It was a Sunday morning, right? Or what day of the week was this?
June 7th. So it was.
That helps.
Let me go to my internal calendar. So.
What year was it? It was
1992. Yeah. Sorry, okay. I don't have the day in there. I don't know why. But
I'm pretty sure it was a weekend night.
Yeah, because there was a graduation. So usually graduations on
June
weekend.
7, 1992 was a Sunday.
Sunday. Okay. That makes sense.
So they were going to go to the water park on the Sunday. This was a Saturday night.
So yeah, so there's probably a period in time from about 3:30 till probably about 5:30 that is like dead zone out there, out in Springfield. Because you got to remember too, this is not like a huge town or a huge city or anything like that. In a lot of these places, you know, as we've experienced, when it gets late, shit shuts down. I mean, the whole place shuts down. There's not a lot of activity happening. So, which means that other than on the highway, that's the other part of this too. Springfield's right on a major highway as well.
Yeah.
So, but one of the things I forgot to mention was that the purses in the house were kind of like stacked on top of each other, which was kind of weird. Like they were, like, why would they go and pile their purses like in a pile?
They were on top of each other, or were they just like next
they were
to
kind
each
of
other?
In a pile, like together. Like there's a picture of them actually. Like they're all kind of like stacked together, but it could have been like they were putting them together to get up in the morning and go, but they're all like kind of conveniently.
It seems like they were all organized so they could just grab and go in the morning.
Yeah,
so
that's
like looking for stuff last minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a lot of people do that, where you just like organize all the things you need to bring with you into an area. If they were planning, especially if it's like 2 a.m, and they're like, oh shit, we got to get our shit together if we want to go to this water park tomorrow. Yeah. Like, let's start organizing everything.
I mean, the reason why I say that is because what Janice saw in the house was enough to really cause her to panic and call the police. She was the one who actually was like, something's wrong here. Something doesn't feel right.
But you know, and called the police. Weird. What I just don't understand is it seems that Stacy and Suzie stayed there last minute, or at least Stacy did. Like it was like not always the plan.
Well, Suzie lived there because it's Sherrill, her mom's house.
Right. So, but Stacy.
Yeah. Like,
so if someone had planned this in advance and it was very organized, it doesn't seem like they knew for sure that she'd even be there. Like that's what confuses me. It's not like she lived there.
If you're thinking from the angle that somebody may have like planned and targeted this.
Right. If you think from that angle. Right.
Yeah, that's why
it's hard to believe any other angle, because how can you do it so perfectly if this was just like some random thing?
Right. They're supposed to go to the hotel rather than go to the hotel and then go to the park, but they just ditched the hotel, went to Sherrill's house instead.
Right. So it was just like by chance that they were there. So if it was something that was like being planned, they were being stalked, being watched.
They could have met someone at the party, like you had said.
Right.
And like brought them back even maybe to like hang out.
But then they just randomly abducted 3 women
maybe
without
things
any...
went south or something. I have no idea.
It's so confusing.
Welcome to the Springfield Three case.
Yeah, seriously.
This is what I'll do to you. So literally 16 hours later, Janice calls the police and basically, you know, is like, hey, my daughter's missing. You know, I don't know where she is.
And it's like sucks because at this point, it's been so long at this point.
Like with 16 hours, that's a long time. Over a day is passed.
And if this was any type of human trafficking, and I'll, you know, explain more, that I think that's my personal theory. It's what makes the most sense to me. You know, they'd be on that highway and gone fast, man, fast.
Right.
Before the sun came up, probably. So it's really late to be reporting it. And it's not like they could have done any better. I definitely don't blame them.
Yeah.
But it sucks that it happened that way.
It does. And apparently in the process of calling the police, Janice accidentally deleted the messages that were on the answering machine from that creepy unknown male voice, of course. That's why we don't have, I wish we had the recordings from that so you could hear. Because that's,
that could have been such a huge part.
Totally. You can take a voice and try and track down whose voice it is. That gives you
use
something.
Machines, even if they like tried to like lower their voice, you could just run it all types of ways. Yeah, no, that was a huge bit of, I mean, there's a lot of mistakes here that people made without knowing. Like people didn't realize that this was like this huge crime, and they just were doing basic things. You just think, you know, most people listen to messages and as soon as it like plays, they delete it. But it is kind of weird to delete something like that. Like you'd think But I guess maybe she just thought it was a prank phone call. Like, ew, get this off my machine.
Be so disgusted by it. Like, oh God.
Just, ew, God, people are so annoying. And
I don't want the police to have to hear this or something, even though they should.
Maybe she wasn't even thinking. I mean, who knows what they were thinking.
But bottom line is that could have been a really huge key piece of evidence for
there was a lot of evidence
law enforcement
that could have helped that got messed up.
But probably the biggest thing is the fact that before like police ever even got there, which they didn't, a bunch of family and friends started coming over to Sherrill's house to like help look for them and like, you know, just wanted to see what was going on. And they ended up coming over and starting cleaning up everything, straightening things up, cleaning up
wiping
the whole
down
house.
Countertops because it was probably dirty in there when they came home. They were so late, it's all disheveled. And
so they started like cleaning, like tidying up the house. And the problem with that is that if this was a crime scene,
wiping
all that forensic evidence is getting destroyed or contaminated with their own DNA.
Which who knows how much was actually left. Because if this was a professional organized operation, which a lot of people don't understand, that's a very real thing. There's
a very scary
teams
thing
that go in and take people. It's very organized. So if they were to do that, you'd think, I mean, they could make it so that there is no evidence either way.
Yeah, like I mean, it's not hard.
They know how to like, you know,
cover yourself.
It's not your average criminal or like the town.
Yeah, some drunk guy they met at the party that
definitely
like
not.
Back
There's no way that's what it was.
Took off with them.
You would have seen something. There would be something more, for sure.
What if it was like an organized plan and they showed up at the party on purpose and like tried to like kind of lure them in to become their friend, and then all of a sudden there was like other people, you know, working behind them, waiting for the right time to come in and really.
But this was like
the project.
But don't you think people at the party would have seen
this was relatives at the party.
Yeah, that's
true. What's so thing is that they weren't at a random party. They went literally to Janelle's relative
high school
party,
grad party,
a family party.
Yeah, exactly. That's what.
So
how many sketchy characters could have possibly been there? Plus, they interviewed everyone that was there. What was going on? Who were they talking to? And like, no one saw anything out of the ordinary or anyone leave with them by any means.
And as far as we know, they didn't go to like some nightclub or somewhere downtown to like, you know, be around potentially somebody that could lure them. So as far as we know, unless while they were driving, somebody had been like stalking them for far longer and had been following them back to the house, or, you know, undetected, you know what I mean? That we just don't even know about. I mean, that's a possibility. Yeah. But as far as we know, there's no way they got home to Sherrill's house without incident. Like normal. Everything was completely normal.
Right. It doesn't make any sense.
That's what's so wild.
It's so weird. This one really drives
it's just going to get weirder. Get ready. So at this point, the police agree to file a missing persons report for Suzie, Stacy, and Sherrill. Great. Good job. Doing the bare minimum here. But since they received the call at such late hours, so this was June 7th at night, and this was back in like a small police thing. There's not like, you know, detectives on call, you probably to do a missing persons report. They suggested for Janice to swing by the police station in the morning. They didn't even like do anything that night. They just were like, okay, we'll file the report. Cause they're like, okay, 3 women, they probably just like ran away. They didn't, you know, this happens so much with missing persons cases. They don't take, you know, the other side of, or the other possibility that this could be malicious or could be some type of criminal activity involved with this disappearance. And they just kind of like, okay, or maybe they couldn't. For all I know, they couldn't. There's some policy or something, but they didn't do anything that night. They just took the report and said, come by the next morning. But what's interesting, apparently the officer who took her call also said, quote unquote, could you try to obtain the dental records of your daughter, Stacy? That's weird.
That is weird.
So automatically an officer's telling her to get dental records because the only reason you do that is to identify a body.
Yeah.
Which why... Right as she's filing the report, if this is legit, this actually was said. As far as I know, this was said by the officer. That's very suspicious, if you ask me.
That is really strange. Why on earth would you need that right away?
That's very odd.
I've never heard of a missing persons case where they automatically
go get the dental records.
Dental records. That's if you find a body and you need to match it.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they were just trying to get ahead. Like, there was nothing else to work on it. I mean, to their credit, there was like nothing else to do. There was like nothing
that's
to
how the
work
police
with.
are acting. Like, I mean,
maybe they were like, I don't know.
There is stuff you can do.
It's weird.
It's very weird.
It's fucking weird.
So Janice started getting pictures and, getting the latest pictures she could from the day of the graduation and creating missing persons posters to hang up around town. And it wasn't long after this that the community began to get involved as well. Eventually, they had handed out over 40,000 flyers across the entire state of Missouri. That's how far this stretched.
Right.
So this is when we start getting
Chances are they're probably long gone from Missouri.
Yeah, yeah. So before we get into suspects and theories here, we'd like to thank our last sponsors for today. One of the most important things you do every day is brush those teeth. Because you only got one pair of teeth, and if you don't take care of your teeth, you don't have any later on in life. So when I found Quip a year or so ago, it completely changed my toothbrushing experience from start to finish. The Quip toothbrush is by far the best electric toothbrush on the market. The reason why is because it makes brushing your teeth so easy. There's a timer on it. It tells you when to switch sides and upper and lower. It's super helpful, and it makes sure you get that perfect clean every single time. Not only that, Quip now offers not only an electric toothbrush, but refillable floss as well. This is really cool. It's completely changing the game. What I love about Quip products as well is they make everything just so much more simpler and easier to use. For example, the Quip floss dispenser comes with pre-marked string to help you use just enough, so you don't have to waste so much floss every time you use it. But by far the best thing about Quip is that they deliver you fresh brush heads, floss, toothpaste refills to your door every 3 months with free shipping, so you never run out of that shit you need to brush your teeth. That's why you need to join over 3 million healthy mouths and get Quip today, starting at just $25. And if you go to getquip.com/milehigher right now, you'll get your first refill free. That's your first refill free at getquip.com/milehigher. That's GETQUIP.com/milehigher. Quip is the good habits company. Seriously, check them out today. You won't regret it.
We all want to do the right thing and keep our bodies healthy in the long run. And it's really hard to get all of the essential nutrients that you need on a daily basis. That's where Ritual comes in handy. It's the obsessively researched vitamin for women. Ritual Essentials have nutrients that most of us don't get enough from our food, all in their clean and absorbable forms with no shady additives or ingredients that can do more harm for your body than good. It's just 2 easy to take capsules with 9 nutrients that you need to support a strong foundation for your health. My personal favorite thing about Ritual is that they have this minty coating around the outside that makes it really easy to take, and you don't get any of that aftertaste that you do from most vitamins. I absolutely hate that. I've had some bad experiences from taking, a vitamin on an empty stomach. I'm sure a lot of you can relate. And you just don't have that issue with Ritual. Ritual Essential for Women is the multivitamin reimagined. From D3 to omega-3, Ritual's Essential for Women helps fill in the gaps in your diet. And you can also have it delivered. And the subscription is easy to start and easy to snooze. It's only $1 a day to have all the essential nutrients that your body needs, delivered every month with no strings attached. Better health doesn't happen overnight, and right now, Ritual is offering our listeners 10% off during their first 3 months. Visit ritual.com/mile to start your Ritual today. That's 10% off during your first 3 months at ritual.com/mile.
So let's go into some suspects and theories. So days go by with no viable leads or answers on the whereabouts of Sherrill, Suzie, and Stacy until Springfield police received an interesting tip. A young waitress working at George's Breakfast, a favorite restaurant of Sherrill and Suzie's, claimed to see the 3 missing women the night of their disappearance between the hours of 1 a.m. to 3 a.m.
All of them?
So all 3 of them, if they were in fact the people she thought she saw, they were at this restaurant between 1 and 3. So it could have been in between the point at which they left the family's house, but then that would have meant they would have had to go get Sherrill, or Sherrill met them there or something. Right. I don't know exactly how they got there.
Why was Sherrill up so damn late and up for breakfast at 1 a.m.?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess we don't know for sure that this woman actually saw them.
Right. Well, that's the thing is police followed up on the tip and they weren't able to corroborate it.
Okay.
They weren't able to find any other customers that had seen the missing 3 women. So that kind of nothing came of it, but it was one of the tips that they got. But then things would take an interesting turn for police in the town of Springfield, Missouri. So with little information, the police had to start digging into the backgrounds of the 3 women, and that's where our first suspects come about. So the first suspect is Bart Streeter. So they obtained some interesting information that led them to Bart Streeter, who was actually the son of Sherrill Levitt and the older brother to Suzie, who's actually 9 years older than her. Mm-hmm. And when they looked into his past, they were able to find some problems between him and the family, pretty much. Mm-hmm. At one point in the early 1980s, Bart was kicked out of the home due to his abuse of alcohol on the regular basis. Sherrill did not approve of his habits and told him, quote unquote, if you want to live under my roof, then you have to abide by my rules. Bart ignored her instructions and then grabbed his belongings and essentially moved out and away for 10 years. He left.
Right.
Later on, though,
totally estranged.
Yeah, exactly. So later on, he reappears in Springfield in the fall of 1991 because of a rough breakup and falling out with his girlfriend at the time.
Kind of came home.
Right. Hoping to mend things between him and his family, and they sort of all came back together. And actually, Bart and Suzie agreed on sharing an apartment together, which helped reconnect their relationship from that 10-year break that they had from each other. But it wasn't long until things went sideways. Bart was finding it difficult to adjust to his new single life because he was still, getting over a major breakup, which is always hard. But this also, that turmoil from breaking up with his girlfriend stirred up some of his inner demons and caused him to relapse, and his addiction to alcohol came back and took a turn for the worse.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was struggling with depression. He always had issues.
And actually, during an argument between Bart and Suzie, the fight led to a physical altercation. And this was the final straw for Suzie, and she actually moved out of the apartment and went back home with her mother, Sherrill. And so this is kind of why Bart was considered one of the first suspects in the case.
Right. Which is interesting.
Which is okay, family, drama, family. Yeah. It's this happened. That doesn't mean really.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to go murder his mom and their friend, abduct 3 women. Plus,
why?
This guy doesn't sound like he would be the type to be able to pull something like this off. I mean, he was essentially a drunk.
Right. Especially if you're an alcoholic, the ability to pull off an abduction at all would be very difficult.
Yeah, especially if he was drinking while it happened. There would be some type of evidence. I mean, there just
doesn't make
any sense.
And of course, the police realized this, and they cleared him pretty much. They cleared him from any wrongdoing. But to this day, Bart Streeter is haunted by their disappearance and the fact that he never got to patch things up with them.
I'm sure.
Which must really be terrible.
I mean, to lose your sister and your mom and never to be able to have closure on so many things.
And how much regret you're probably carrying around from the past and those 10 years.
So hard.
You left and you weren't there. That's rough.
Probably carries guilt from not being there. Yeah. Maybe not living with them. And
yeah. I can only imagine it's got to be rough to deal with. So this leads us to our next suspects, Dustin Reckler and Michael Clay. So as police kept investigating the backgrounds of the 3 women, they found another potential lead in Suzie's ex-boyfriend, Dustin Reckler, and his friend Michael Clay. Apparently, while Suzie and Dustin were in a relationship, the 2 men were charged with vandalizing a mausoleum and also stealing gold teeth from corpses in the mausoleum.
That's so savage. Really?
In order to sell them to the pawn shop. Who does that?
Weird.
Who does that?
How much money can you possibly make off a gold tooth, too? It can't be worth that much.
What is this pawn shop that's oh yeah, where'd you find these gold teeth? Give you $20 for them, how much money can you get for some gold?
Seriously, how disrespectful for no payoff.
But bottom line, I mean, you shouldn't be going into a mausoleum, period, disturbing the dead.
Oh my God.
And taking from somebody's loved one. That's just messed up. So they were charged, and, Suzie found out about this, and she obviously broke off the relationship.
Clearly. That would be a final straw for me, too.
Yeah. But apparently Dustin wasn't happy about it. Michael wasn't happy about it. There was a lot of anger towards Suzie after this. And there were multiple reports about hearing Michael say, quote unquote, I wish all 3 of the women were dead.
Yep.
And despite their alibi for the night of Sherrill and Suzie and Stacy's disappearance, it has never been confirmed on the validity of where Dustin and Michael were that evening.
Yeah, their alibi's always been a little shaky.
Yeah, they haven't been able to actually 100% confirm where they were. We don't really know. So, but yet, due to zero evidence pointing in their direction, they have never been apprehended or charged with the disappearances. However, they are still considered persons of interest or suspects to this day. I'd say probably persons of interest at this point, probably not suspects, but I mean, who knows?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure it's probably person of interest.
And I mean,
you have to have some decent evidence
right.
to make someone a
and they can kind of see like, yeah, it's kind of, I mean, they're committing crimes and they've got kind of a criminal past, but then again, like, would they be capable of abducting 3 women and making them disappear without a trace?
Yeah, doesn't that just seem so
Here they are
insane?
getting caught selling gold teeth to a pawn shop. Like, really, they're that smart that they could figure out a way to do that or pull that off? Like, seems unlikely to me. So after this, more tips started coming in and things just got stranger. In the very early hours of the disappearance of the 3 women, at approximately 6:30 a.m., a woman was sitting out on her front porch when she noticed an odd van. She explained to investigators the vehicle was a Dodge panel van that had a silver to greenish hue. The model was seemingly from the mid-1960s to early 1970s. So, of course, a really creepy looking van, pretty much.
Yeah.
That, you know, most of us associate with like abductions. And she said that herself. She said the van was out of place and it was not a vehicle owned by any of the neighbors on the block. So if you take her testimony seriously, you got to wonder, could that have been involved in this case? You know,
yeah, that's oftentimes what
seems pretty clear that.
And she didn't get a license plate, huh? That's a shame.
No, well, it was I'm pretty sure it was a stolen plate or something. Which I mean, I don't, or actually, it may not even had a plate on it at all. But also, she heard, or at first she noticed a young woman in the driver's seat that appeared very distressed. So that's alarming to think.
Wow.
And then she claimed to hear an unidentified male voice speaking to the driver saying, quote unquote, "Back out slowly and don't do anything stupid." So that is
how
like,
was she able to hear all this from there? From
the front porch, you could hear all that? Unless it was yelling.
I mean, and the car was on though. The car's running, the engine's running.
Could have been loud. They could have been like,
I have questions about that. I mean, sometimes it's just hard because this story became such a nationwide phenomenon that like I think people wanted to be part of it. People were sending in false tips for like Chris Watts and all types of stuff. I mean, a lot of times that happens.
It does seem a little convenient that you could hear the car. It just seems a little too like stereotypical to like what an abduction would be like. Right. Could it have been real? We don't know, but
yeah, I'm not saying, it just makes me question it for sure.
And the tip wasn't phoned in right away. Like they didn't, it was obviously later on. And the witness explained to authorities that she hadn't had any idea that there were 3 missing women since this case was still happening in the early mornings that she witnessed this. And it hadn't broadcast on the local news. But then again, this is her telling this later. She could be lying about that too. We don't know for sure.
We don't know.
So it's kind of like, do you take her word for it or not?
Yeah. It's kind of a gamble.
And she said that she called the authorities later on after she had seen Suzie Streeter and she identified her as the driver, which is interesting and it could be true. And the police actually considered her statement to be very credible and decided to buy the same modeled van, painted it the color the witness believed it to be, and then parked it out front near the police station with the phone number to contact the police for any tips and information. So I don't know. I don't know how that really helps all that much. I guess we were trying to like jog people's memory if they've seen this type of van, but
yeah, I guess.
But then again, I mean, I feel like it's not that uncommon to see this type of van, you know?
No.
So I don't know how that really helps. But it did, apparently, and traction in the case started to pick up. A paperboy doing his deliveries at night described seeing a similar type of van, but the color of it was brown.
Well, wasn't the other one brown?
It was like a greenish hue. It was like a silver to greenish hue.
Oh, sorry. I must have read the wrong thing.
So a totally different color.
Okay. Well, I mean, maybe at night you could see like green and brown.
Right. Well, that's the thing. It was night.
Was it a forest green?
Yeah,
it
exactly.
It almost look like brown, especially at night.
Oh, yeah.
But the problem is that because there's too much of like uncertainty with these tips, there's not much you can do with it and it doesn't ultimately really lead to anything. But Janice remained steadfast in her pursuit of finding her daughter, of course, as well as Sherrill and Suzie, and continued to make inquiries with news stations in order to get the story aired throughout the states. And because of her relentless persistence.
Yeah, she really drove this home.
I mean, she's the one that kept this alive and really like kept this going. And
she made it an infamous case for sure.
She really did. And she kept on the media and stuff to share the story, which ultimately led to a potentially promising break in the case. A tipster from the state of Florida called in after seeing the case on the national news, and they gave the name of somebody by the name Robert Craig Cox to the authorities, in which the police added him to the list of suspects. And as it turned out, the caller of the tip was the brother of Sharon Zellers, a 19-year-old teenager allegedly murdered by Robert Cox in 1978 as she was on her way home from a late night of work at Disney World. And at the time, Robert was in the vicinity celebrating his recent graduation from basic training to become an Army Ranger. He was accompanied by his parents who were at the hotel nearby. And it was quite late that night when Robert headed out on his own while his parents were wanting to get some rest. And later in the evening, Robert barged into the room covered in blood coming from his tongue that was partially bitten off.
Ew.
That's crazy.
Oh, it's so foul.
Hell no.
Oh, man.
That is gross.
Biting your tongue hurts so bad. I can't even imagine having a piece
of it ripped off.
Even when it's just a tiny little bite, you get like the very tip, like just like a little one taste bud is bitten.
Yes, it hurts.
It still hurts. I can't imagine that.
Oh my gosh.
That's why I could never get my tongue pierced. I feel like that would hurt so bad.
Oh, God.
That's thick.
Some people say it doesn't hurt that bad.
Really?
Yeah.
Everyone I've talked to that has it, said it wasn't that bad. Just for some reason, sounds like it hurts so bad.
I know.
I swear. And people said noses don't hurt either, but oh my God, mine hurts so bad. I started crying.
Oh.
So Robert went to the emergency room and he actually told the nursing staff that he bit off his own tongue.
Oh my God.
What?
But obviously that wasn't the case. Because a few hours later, the police located the body of Sharon Zellers, who was reported of not arriving back home after work. Her deceased body was only a mere 100 feet from the hotel Robert and his family were staying in. And with Robert...
Another S name, Sharon.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Isn't it? It's like this person only wanted
that could be another clue as to connect the other three to him potentially.
Maybe.
If your thing was to go for women with S
That's
names.
a weird
That's
fetish,
a weird
though.
Thing. That's true.
I feel like that's highly unlikely.
True.
It's more of a coincidence, probably.
You're probably right.
I think S names were pretty popular in like the 70s. Like these girls are probably born in the 70s, right?
Yeah. So Robert Cox's wild story about his tongue, him biting his tongue off or whatever.
Yeah. And this guy's this guy is weird, man.
Yeah. But police interviewed him, but were unable to charge him with any crimes. And the main reason being a lack of advancement in DNA research in the late 1970s. So after this incident, Robert traveled with the Army to California, where in 1985, he was charged and convicted on 2 separate occasions of abduction and assault of more women. So this guy was like known for this type of thing.
Yep. And not only that, but he worked with Stacy's dad at one point.
Yeah.
In an automotive type of position.
Yeah, like a dealership type of thing.
So, and like Stacy would come and bring him lunch a lot and hang out there. It was close to her. Yeah, he totally could have developed a liking for her. Plus, like I said, she was like trying to get into this local modeling.
Yeah.
At least doing auditions and stuff. He easily could have seen her somewhere.
Totally.
And yeah. It's kind of a small area.
Yeah. If there is a suspect that could have done this, or most likely, Robert Cox seems to be the guy. I mean, he has murder charges. He was indicted actually on the murder charges of Sharon Zeller, and was taken to trial, in which he was found guilty, sentenced to life without parole, and placed on death row. However, what's crazy is the ruling was later overturned because of a lack of DNA evidence, and he was actually released.
What?
Yeah, he was released after this, and then moved in 1992 to where his parents were living in Springfield, literally months before this disappearance of the Springfield Three happened. Which is crazy.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to think about. And like you said, he was employed. He was the mechanic at this used car dealership where Stacy McCall's father was working. So after the disappearances, Robert was interviewed and questioned by the police about, where he was. And his girlfriend at the time confirmed his alibi that he was with her the entire night that they disappeared. And he had plans to attend Sunday morning church service, which we later find out this was not the case. She basically lied to cover up for him. 3 years later, in 1995, Robert was actually arrested in Texas for holding an unarmed weapon on a 12-year-old girl. Bad dude, man.
He was fucking
really bad dude. And then from that point on, he's been serving a life sentence for aggravated robbery. So he's just been doing a bunch of different things, a bunch of definitely violent crime for sure. So throughout the years after he was arrested, the police have basically said that he was the prime suspect in the case. And actually, in an interview with Springfield Police, Robert once said, quote unquote, "I can tell you that I know the 3 women are dead and the person who committed the crime had experience and they were buried close to Springfield."
Yeah, this is very weird. And he's done a TV interview is it the TV interview?
Yeah, this is the TV interview. Yeah.
Can we put that in there? We can try.
I don't know.
If we can't put it in there, then I want to try because it's interesting.
Yeah.
But if we can't, we'll like link it below or somewhere you can see it because the interview with him is very weird. He's like, he has this really weird arrogance, like almost like he knows I'm fucking with these people. I know something. And he's like, I just know that they're dead.
Well, it's like
he's like, I'm sure that they're dead. And they're like, how do you know that? He's like, I don't know, but I know that they're dead.
And he's already in prison for like life, basically. Like,
yeah.
Why wouldn't you just?
But is it for shock value? Is it because he has cameras on him and he knows it's going to go out there and scare people? Probably. And he's gone with the whole I'm a piece of shit bad boy and this I like to scare people and I want to be known as this. Like it's hard to.
Suspects do a lot.
Oh yeah, a lot, a lot. A lot of people in jail are bored. And they just literally want to be interviewed.
Totally.
Especially an opportunity to be on TV. Yeah.
I mean, why not? Why not?
When you're committed enough to you're spending life in prison, you know, why not just add to your resume?
Yeah, honestly, it's like a resume.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Well, there's also reports that apparently he will tell the truth about what happened to Sherrill, Suzie, and Stacy once his mother passes away because he doesn't want to cause her grief.
Well, it's like, okay, so that you're basically saying that you did it then because what, you're going to tell us all that you didn't do it once your mom dies? Like, it's so weird. I don't know if I believe that. I don't think I believe it either. Like, that sounds like
too convenient to try to like lead people on, you know, down this road of like, I did it, but I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah, but people do that though. It's hard. Like, it seems unlikely, but like people do crazy shit. Like you think about Michael Turney in the Alyssa Turney case.
Yeah, that's true.
And he, you know, he always says, I'll confess on my deathbed.
Yeah, and that type of individual.
So you're saying that you did it then? Like, because what you're going to say, you're not guilty on your deathbed? Like, the way that they say that, it's like so obvious of what you mean. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's weird.
It's very weird.
Cox is definitely one of those characters here that it's hard to get a good read on him or really make a decision on him. Know.
And there's not
Some people think he for sure did it and they're so set on that. And a lot of people think he's just a character.
There's nothing physical there's no evidence connecting him to it. Mm-hmm. It's just more out of coincidence that he might be a person that could do this to but is he capable of abducting 3 women by himself
and leaving no evidence,
no trace? These women would have fought. These women would have fought if they were abducted by one person.
I mean, and it wasn't just like there was a mother there. You know, she's going to try to protect her kid. There was going to be a fight.
There would have been evidence of
unless they were like all like injected with something and knocked out and carried out. And like that's the type of stuff that they do in human trafficking. Mm-hmm. It's like super thorough and thought out.
Professional job for sure. But the one other person of interest I just wanted to mention that other people think is someone by the name Steve Garrison, who's currently serving a 40-year sentence for an unrelated crime. But he reportedly gave police information allegedly unknown to the public regarding the green van and the 3 murdered women. But that lead never panned out when police followed it. Yeah. There's also curiosity of this so-called GJ3, which are 3 men allegedly named before a grand jury with regard to their involvement in the case. However, no charges were brought and the records are sealed by the court, leading to much speculation. Mm-hmm. So this is just, we have no idea if this is real or not, but this is just something that's out there. So this leads us into like theories of what could have happened. We've obviously talked about some of it, but there's some questions that remain unanswered that are very interesting. Like, how could someone have gotten these 3 women out of the house at night without leaving a trace or a sign of struggle? Did they impersonate an authority figure to gain entry? That's another interesting question.
That is.
Did they fabricate some type of emergency in order to get the women to apply? Did they have a weapon they used to control them?
Interesting to think about. The weapon thing is my biggest guess, I guess. You know, like, I can definitely see how if you had a gun and there's 3 women, and you don't have a gun to defend yourself, how you would just cooperate because you're just scared of getting shot.
Right.
You know, I feel like that would make sense, leading them out with a weapon.
Yep. I agree.
Definitely seems very likely that it was something like that.
But gaining entry, that's interesting. They could have acted like an authority figure. The police.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's one of the theories. So one of the theories is this police cover-up theory, which was that woman on that True Crime Daily interview that was just bizarre as shit.
And maybe we can insert a couple clips again. I can't promise it because it could get copyrighted and banned in
wild on
countries.
YouTube these days.
It's so insane.
If anything, we'll link everything for you so you can go watch it.
Because that interview is worth watching. It is weird.
So this woman named Kathy, I don't even really think we know. She claims to know a lot about what happened. Like claims to know exactly what happened.
But she like won't say. There's all this stuff that she's hiding, and the crew that were interviewing her were really pushing her like, I don't understand why we're even doing this interview if you're not going to tell us, and like, what's your point here, and almost accusing her of like pretending,
right?
Which she could
just be completely
just getting attention and pretending. But she was like, look, I can't. I live here. I live there, and there's certain things I can't talk about.
There's people she seemed to insinuate there's people involved that are in positions of authority that know exactly what happened with this case.
Yes.
And
we just
kept quiet about it.
Totally. And we actually just had firsthand experience with this. Our series coming out in January, you will see. But we interviewed people that told us that they actually didn't want their interview to go into the series, or they didn't want to be on camera or talk to us in any way because of politics within the town, because of fear.
Right. This seems very similar to what happened in the case that we were working on. And this does happen, especially in these smaller towns across America. This is Missouri, Springfield, Missouri, we're talking about. It is very possible that at the time there was some type of, look, the Golden State Killer was a freaking police officer.
Yep.
There are bad ones out there, and it's very possible that there was some type of,
a lot of good ones, but a lot of bad ones.
For all we know, it could be a serial killer. We have no idea. But there could have been somebody that was just either disguised as a police officer or was an actual police officer that was involved in the disappearance of these 3. Yeah. It seems
kind of like that's what the woman was alluding to.
Right.
Like corruption, cover up.
Totally.
I live in this town, but
I
gotta
can't
be
say
careful
anything.
What I say.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm a target if so.
And I am curious how many other people in Springfield, would say the same thing or like have their own theories, but they like will never come to a public platform in fear for their safety.
Totally. I think there's probably more than just Kathy, whoever this woman is that they interviewed, but
no, she seemed freaked out. She seemed like she wanted to tell so bad. She didn't strike me as someone that was just doing it for attention too.
Well, why? What does she have to gain out of that, really?
No, she was just
other than look crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. You guys will have to be the judge on that. I don't know.
But if you think about those questions I just read a few minutes ago, like a cop could easily answer that. Like, how could they get them out? As professional, they would know how to cover it up. They'd know exactly what to do. They'd have a weapon. They could show up at a house and ring, knock on the door, and somebody would. If you see a uniformed police officer, especially then, you're gonna probably open it for them.
They could be easily watching a house and watching when someone goes in a house and make those calls.
Totally.
I mean, and the Golden State Killer being a police officer, and he was so into not prank calling, but he would call the houses and say all this creepy stuff and I'm gonna kill you. Like, remember he would do all that? Yep. And he was a cop.
Yep. That's what I'm saying is like, it seems more likely that it could have been something like that.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like either way, but a lot of human trafficking people get involved in it. Like officials and stuff will kind of work with the bad guys. So it could still be something like that.
Yeah.
That was
somebody could be alive to this day that was involved in a cover up that they're protecting, and that's
they could have been paid.
Yeah, because there's literally like you go to the Springfield police website or in the actual government site and you read their thing, and there's nothing.
Yeah,
there's literally the basic timeline: call police with information. There's nothing else.
Yeah,
and which is very weird for a case that's been as popular or infamous as this one. There should be way more, but there's not. Almost conveniently. So that's like one of the biggest theories out there is there's some type of corruption or potentially a law enforcement individual that could be involved with this disappearance, which is just crazy to think about.
It's totally possible.
Like you brought up, the other one was human trafficking, which that seems probably like, to me, those two are kind of in the top, I think, for me. I don't...
Or it could be a mix.
Yeah. I think...
A little both.
I think Cox could be, but I also think he may not be. I think I have like a 30% chance that it's him. Mm-hmm. But I think there's just... This is just too clean, too professional of an abduction to be somebody like Cox, you know?
Yeah.
It feels like
seems like a sloppy dude.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know. It's hard to say.
But then again, I mean, he did kind of get away with all the other stuff, sort of. So
yeah, it's like when you look at his background, that definitely adds to it.
Maybe he did know what to do, and, you know, they're out there somewhere. But yeah, I mean, it seems like a professional job to me in some way.
Well, his mom's like in her 80s now, so maybe she'll pass away and we'll find out in the next. That sounded really mean, like I'm waiting for her to pass away. But yeah, maybe he will be true in his word.
But then again, how do you verify unless he's able to give like, I know here's where the remains are. Yeah,
that would be the big
here's
thing.
The location.
Well, that's the biggest thing in this case is like there have never been bodies found. Like you'd think that if it was something local and they were murdered and then buried around there, like they would have been found by now. Maybe. I mean,
maybe not though.
No, maybe not for sure. But I mean, my best guess is they were taken out of there.
Yeah,
fast.
And out of the area. Mm-hmm. And they're long gone somewhere far away.
But, you know, and most people think and assume, a lot of people don't even consider them like missing people anymore, that they consider this a murder.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm torn on that because I feel like there is a possibility that they're still alive and being kept in human trafficking. And
3 attractive women.
Yeah, they could have
happened to be all there together and then gone together.
They get you in there, they hook you on drugs, and then you're stuck in this world. And
well, they completely brainwash you pretty much. And
brainwash you, absolutely.
You become sucked into the reality of human trafficking.
Yeah, you become dependent on your abductor.
Yeah, I mean, you're a slave.
It's a crazy world. If you don't know about the realities of that, I really recommend I Am Jane Doe on Netflix. Is it that one? Is that what it's called? I think it's called I Am Jane Doe.
I believe so. Yeah.
I might be wrong, but there's some good ones.
But it's definitely one of the more interesting and
very common.
Yeah, common. Yeah,
way more common than people realize. Right. I mean, really.
But there's also this rumor from an individual who claims they're an expert in the case, suggesting that the bodies of Sherrill, Suzie, and Stacy are buried under the Southside parking garage of Cox Hospital, which was being built during the timeline of the events. So
they could have been put there.
Yeah. Well,
that's so creepy.
Yeah, which is possible, but this is interesting. So a reporter in 2010 used their own money to hire a mechanical engineer with expertise in basically using specialized radar to scan under the ground. And while they were scanning, apparently they noticed 3 anomalies, and they haven't definitively said, they can't obviously say exactly what they are, but they bared some resemblance to what he's found in graveyards. So potentially, maybe there's bodies under there, maybe. But police are skeptical, which is interesting, and they're not convinced, and they refuse to take samples from the concrete to look for decomposition.
They wouldn't even have to pay for it. It was volunteered to be paid for.
They refuse.
Which is very weird. Very weird. And definitely screams
like, we don't want to mess up the garage because it's inconvenient.
Yeah.
It's like,
come on.
Really?
This is one of your guys' biggest case. Like, if you solve this, imagine the news coverage, how good the police department would look good. Like, you guys don't want to try? Why? The fuck?
Why not? I mean, what do you really have to lose? You can fix concrete.
Yeah.
Why don't you just see, maybe there's something you should see under there anyway, or there's some other bodies unrelated, you know? That's kind of it's sick, but it's kind of a popular way to hide and dispose of, you know, remains, is to put it under concrete. I mean, that happens a lot more often than not. Cause I mean, who's going to go under?
A lot of cases where they think that bodies could be under construction and they just can't get permits or access to the area. Kristen Smart, even Alyssa Turney, like there's an area that Sarah thinks that she was buried possibly.
It happens way more than people think because makes sense. Like, that's one permanent way.
Aisha Degree as well. They think, I can't even remember now. I covered that one forever ago, but yeah, I mean, it is a perfect spot. You think about it, cover them
totally.
But like, what if construction workers, like,
Right. Well, that's the whole thing. And police are like, well, when they're excavating, if they're excavating, like, how would they have timed it so they get in there and bury it right as like concrete's about to be poured? Because when they're excavating a site, they would see it. They would absolutely find it if they were there.
It's hard. It does work sometimes, but you definitely have questions.
Well, not only that, but apparently this expert or whatever who kind of started this was an online, web sleuth who was also a proclaimed psychic as well.
Literally from websleuths.com. Yeah, this one guy. Yeah. I remember this.
And apparently he received the tip as part of a psychic encounter he had with the spirit of Stacy McCall.
Okay, yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know, but...
I don't discount all psychics when it comes to true crime. I think some people...
There's a lot of bullshit too.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Major. Like 90% of it, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, and sometimes it's so like misleading for families. There's been so many cases of families who have been like told by a psychic, like, oh, they're here. And then they find their body in a completely different spot and they like had hope. And yeah, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about that. Psychics when it comes to true crime.
Yeah. I don't know, man. This one's really bizarre though. It's extremely rare for 3 women to vanish at the same time.
It just doesn't make sense. I mean, the police theories are interesting, the cover up and stuff, but did the police actually commit it? I don't know. That would be kind of hard for them.
Or it's a situation where it's like family connected and they're covering up, they're protecting somebody with, a loved one or relative of somebody in the department. Who knows? I mean, the corruption runs deep in some places.
Yeah.
So who really knows?
I just think it really could have been. This reminds me a lot of the Johnny Gosch case, just the way that it was so like clearly calculated and done with just such precision and so clean and just vanished like with nothing, I don't know. It just, and the fact that they were so beautiful, like all 3 of the women are really beautiful, blonde, beautiful women. So I don't know. I mean, it's like the more pretty someone is in human trafficking, they're like worth more to the trafficker. Ugh. It's really sad, but like, I mean, they were really gorgeous and you'd think they could have been targeted for that reason.
Sure. It is on a major interstate as well. It'd be a prime spot to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why you got to be careful of Walmarts on freeways.
Yep. That's a huge thing right now.
Because that's where they like to go sit and lure, or they go through Walmart, lure you out to their van. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're in a van and on the highway to who knows where.
Well, the thing that they do at Walmarts, it's normally women trafficking other women. And they go up to you and like ask you to join their Bible study or help you with their dog or something like that. And then you go out to their car and there's men in the car. They get you in the car and they take you off.
I feel like I have witnessed something like this before at a Walmart.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, you actually witnessed
that?
No,
I'm thinking back, and this memory just came flooding into where I was in a Walmart, and I remember I was walking down the aisle of like the food section, and this woman, she was like, I don't know, probably 40 or in her 40s or something. And she was just kind of walking around and she was approaching other young females that were in there. And I remember overhearing something about, she was like showing them like little flyers for like a church thing.
That's exactly what it is.
And I remember so perfectly clear that it piqued my attention because I was like, this is really weird.
That's exactly how they do it, dude.
You don't see this. Like, it's not like a common thing for people to be trying to recruit people for church group at Walmart.
And that's a huge issue.
But they were like walking up to young people like, hey, like, check out, like,
join our youth group, join this and that.
Oh, okay, look in. Like,
I have followers that literally tweet me, this just happened to me. Like, you talked about this one time and it happened to me at Walmart. Someone came up to me and Walmarts have been a major source of human trafficking.
Well, they have those huge parking lots are huge. So
yeah, and a lot of them are right off the highway. So you jump right on, you're gone.
Yeah, and there's always, and if you go to
you can get out of there so fast. And like before anyone does anything, because people think their family's at Walmart. No one's like, my family's missing right now, and they're gone.
And it was a Walmart right off I-70.
Dude.
Right off, so you could get on I-70 in like a couple hours being in Kansas.
Because you're not allowed to solicit there. You can't just like go in and like promote your church.
No.
It's like a totally sketchy thing that they do really subtly. And they try to,
it was really weird.
It's women. It's normally women preying on other women. Yeah. And then they get you out to the parking lot and men handle you from there.
Right. Exactly. Well, and you go out into the parking lots, there's all these RVs, there's all these vans. And I mean, some of it's probably legitimate, but a lot of it looks a little sketchy to me. And like they sit way out there and they're dark and you can't see in the windows. And like, you just wonder like what's happening back there. And people are just, don't think about it and be careful out there. Cause especially at night,
it's crazy.
Walmart can be a scary place. Like no joke, especially off of major highways. So,
and we're not saying that it's for sure that these women were trafficked. We don't know that for sure, but it doesn't seem like they were murdered in that house or like raped in the house or anything like that. It seemed like they were abducted, taken somewhere, and it's probably for a reason.
Yeah, I mean,
my biggest question is like, was the mom always part of the plan? Like maybe they were planning on taking the 2 younger ones, because like a lot of older women wouldn't get trafficked. I mean, it does happen. Don't get me wrong, but like
I feel like some, I don't know. I'm not very. Maybe you would know better, but they're like a mother and daughter duo, more worth more.
I mean, they could have. I don't know if it was always their plan though. Maybe they didn't know that they would end up at that house at the end of the night, or maybe it's more like to clear collateral, take her out.
Well, you can't.
She could have been killed.
Leave a witness. You can't leave a witness to an abduction like that.
Yeah.
Either,
No, and I mean, for all we know, they could be totally using women of all ages. I think there's like people out there wanting everything. It's really disturbing. I hate even talking about it because it's so hard to believe that this is all real. And it's reality for some humans on this earth to have no freedom and to be completely controlled. And like I said, on drugs, most of them, they get hooked on major drugs to where you're doing anything. You'll do anything to get another fix, and you get totally addicted. Yep. Like that's how they keep people in there and keep them from contacting families or escaping or thinking in their right mind to get out of there.
Yeah,
it's
your
like,
state of mind is
it's totally fucked.
Completely.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't blame you if you were in that horrible of a situation. I'd probably be like, yeah, you know what? I would like to be numb right now. That would be better than being sober right now.
Well, it's not like they ask you, do you want it? No. They inject you with it.
You're done. And then the second your body's like, oh, give me more.
Yeah, exactly.
It's terrible.
It's really horrible.
It's really just...
But I mean, we don't know if that is necessarily what happened to them. But I mean, it's still important. I think so many people have just been like so closed book on this case. Like they're probably dead. They're never gonna find them. And like
it's probably Cox.
It's probably
got
not.
Right.
I doubt we will find them, of course. But I feel like you can never lose hope. And it's so important to memorize these faces because you may see them and
right. Totally. You never fucking know.
No.
Look at so many that have been found 20 plus years later.
Yes. Look at Jaycee Dugard. No one ever thought she was going to get out.
Right. Exactly.
She was held captive for like her whole life.
That's the thing. For all we know, they're being held captive somewhere.
Yes, they totally could be. I think that's a real possibility.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Ariel Castro in Cleveland, and
not everybody's just trying to like
3 women
murder.
in his house.
Right. Yeah.
And had them all in different rooms. Yeah. And people are fucking freaks.
They're young. They're 18, 19 years old. Like
anything could have happened to them. And I don't think it's smart to just assume they're dead. And that's where so many people just are like, they're dead. Like some people don't even consider this a missing person.
Stacy's mom, Janice, does not think they're dead. She's continuing to search for them.
Good for her.
And holds out hope that they could be found alive. She's still like searching. So on that note, like if anybody out there has information about this crime or has any tips, you can actually now text an anonymous tip to the Springfield Police Department.
That's great.
Just text 417-SPD plus your message to 274-637 or crimes. And you can also call the tip line at 417-869-8477 if you know anything about the Springfield Three. Because they could be out there for all we know.
Yeah.
I mean, all you can do is in these is just, it's so crazy and wild that, to be honest, I don't think they're gone. I think they might still be out there. Like,
yeah, I mean, we hope.
I think people can hide
your
things
mind
really
wants to hope that people are, but
it's been a long time.
It's hard that they haven't found any bodies. That's the thing that makes me think that they could be still out there. Cause you'd think, I mean, but it's like the world's massive. It's so easy to hide a body, really.
Mm-hmm. And who knows? I mean, the concrete thing could be real too.
Could totally.
But you guys should let us know what your thoughts and theories are on this, because this is a wild one. I'm sure it'll keep you up, if you're interested in this stuff.
And if you live in that area, what's the tea? Let us know the inside. It sounds like there's more in the town that's really not being reported, and you can only get so much with these. Like, I'm not a huge fan of the way true crime documentaries are done. I feel like they're so glazed over and so political. And
Well, and just
I think
so
it was
much
like
about
People magazine covered this, and like True Crime
they
Daily. I
missed
mean,
so
they're
much
okay.
stuff.
They're
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
No hate, no shit.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot more, and that maybe you'd have a different insight if you lived in this town.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you would. I'm sure you'd probably think something completely different.
Yeah.
Or maybe agree with us a little bit more than, the mainstream might. So
Yeah.
Interesting stuff though. But yeah, we'll go ahead and wrap it up there today, guys. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Mile Higher podcast. Hopefully we took your mind a mile higher today.
If we did, go to milehigher.com and cop some merch.
But yeah, we'll see you guys next week. I think we've got some more true crime coming your way.
We do. We feel like we need to do a couple true crimes.
Definitely.
Make up for the lack of them lately.
Definitely. But yeah, until next time, guys, stay safe.
And stay woke.